Today's kanji will appear so often that you'll have no trouble remembering them. The stories are a little convoluted, so grab your notebook and let's get started. You remember we talked about tree, and if you slice the tree very thin, you have book. Humans wrote book, and so if you add a human and a book, you get all the body of knowledge. This is body. It's any kind of body, like the human body, body of knowledge, a celestial body. That is the kanji for body, human and book. You remember the sun, it's also day. One drop of sun is the color white, because we know that sunshine contains all the colors. So that is white. If you have one band of all the colors from that sun, you can break it up in 12 colors, or, as we like to say, 100 colors. Now you can turn this on the side and it looks like 100. It's the only time we'll ever do that to a kanji. You always write it this way. You have one drop of all those colors, 100. 1, 10, and now a drop of 10, or the comma from 10 is that first comma that gives you 1,000. This is 1,000. Notice that slanted drop. This character means to bind up, to wrap up. And if you wrap up some cloth around the pole, you get a bolt of cloth. This is a bolt of cloth. This means cloth. Do you remember we talked about the top hat and the ants, little walking legs? Those 6 ants around the picnic table? Well, if you add a top hat and this bolt of cloth, you get a market, because where else are fancy people going to buy their cloth? Of course, in the market. Now the market's also where the fancy people, their top hats and their bolts of cloth, go to the city. So exact same character, it means both market and city. Now, if you remember, that wrap up character ended here, whereas mouth goes and has a line that runs across the bottom. Well, if you run a pole through the middle of your mouth, that's middle, that's in, that's inside. So this is inside, it's in. It means the middle, it means naka. We'll talk about above and below. Now here we have this floor that's joining to go above or below. Note that the character for above can also mean up, or to go up, or to go up to the city. Even if the city is at a lower elevation, you always go up to the city where those fancy people are, and you go down to the countryside, always going down. Notice how going up is in the middle and going down hangs from the ceiling. This is one of my favorite little tools. This is a belt with a sash that you can hang things on. And we're going to use this for 3 characters. And what we're going to use it for, the first one is here. You have this steel beam, steel girder, like you're building a building. This is craft. It means craft. Anywhere you see it's craft. And if you hang craft off by your side, well, you're a pretty left-handed, clever person. We're going to use this to mean left. Now, if you hang your mouth out here on that same little strap, well, that's hanging down by your side, telling you all the right things to do, and that's going to be right. And you remember moon. Moon is also that stick of meat, that slab of meat that you can hang on your side. Everyone's supposed to have their meat with them. You have yours too, don't you? That's to have. So this is left. Notice the stroke order, right, and to have. Left, you start with that first bar, put the belt on, add your craft. For right, we add the strap, then add the belt, add our mouth, and to have, we add our slab of meat. Left, right, and have. Now this moon can also be recognized if you pull off one of those strings, one of those lines, because the clouds are in front of it. Picture that fancy moon in the evening. This is the character for evening. It's turned on its side a little bit because it's a little cool, and one line meaning evening. You remember this character. That's gold. Remember, we had dirt, we buried our gold bars in it, we added a roof, and then put a cover on top of that. Well, anytime you see this roof in this attic, that means to meet. These 2 characters are meeting because you want to exchange your gold in secret. You're going to meet there. When are we going to meet? We're going to meet right now. This is a clock that only points to now. It's like a little 7 down there. This is now. If I write the character for now and the character for day, I get now day, which means ta-da, today. That's our first compound character. This bind up character we did a second ago for cloth, sometimes if we put one big bind up this way, we're binding up numbers. And this is an Asian thing, to bind up numbers in groups of 10,000. So if you have 10,000 numbers, they look just like that one bound up billet. We have 1, 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000. So if you had 20,000 people at a concert, you would have 2 10,000s people. Let's try that again. 2 10,000 people is 20,000 people. Make sense? Well, if you want to tell that to me, you're going to have an idea. One thought equals words coming out of your mouth. This is to say. If you ever see it printed, you will see it with the straight lines all across. But when you handwrite it, we're going to drop a dot here, your idea, one thought that equals the words coming out of your mouth. That is to say. Do you remember this character? This was 9. We kicked up our feet, the baseball players out in the field. And you remember bind up? Well, we are going to give you half of a bind up to give you one kick up right where I am. X marks the spot. This is my feeling. This is key. This is how I feel. This character is so popular in Japan. Kibun, how you feel. Genki, are you okay? This key shows up in almost every facet of life. You'll never forget it.